Hello and welcome to the Blood Reds Morning Bulletin. I'm joined by my Liverpool.com writer Emmet Gates, and today we're going to talk a bit about Jurgen Klopp's success, having won the LMA Manager of the Year award last night. Well deserved, wasn't it, Emmet?
Yeah, I think it's difficult to argue against Jurgen Klopp winning it, considering the season Liverpool have had, and obviously with the big one on Saturday, there's still the potential of a treble, at the very least a domestic double. So, yeah, I think in the end it's pretty hard to argue against Jurgen Klopp winning it.
Obviously, the argument against it would be to say that he didn't win the big one, the Premier League, which Pep Guardiola was successful in. Do you think there is a case to be made that maybe Guardiola deserved it for the success of the Premier League, or do you think sort of the Champions League and the domestic cup success overrides that?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, you have to look at it in the sense that City have won the league four times out of the last five. So winning the league for them really was nothing new. It wasn't really an you know an overwhelming achievement, shall we say? I mean, winning the league is never it shouldn't be taken for granted, and it's never easy. But City do have a major advantage in terms of their wealth compared to everyone else. So, and the fact that Liverpool are 1 point in the season, in early January, Liverpool were 14 points behind. So for a club back for Jurgen Klopp and his players to claw it back and go into the final day of the season with a point difference, you know, that shows that probably went a long way in deciding why Jurgen Klopp eventually got the award over Pep Guardiola. And then also you counter into the Carabao Cup success, the FA Cup success, and now a potential Champions League success. So yeah, I think it is all in all, it's very difficult to argue against Jurgen Klopp winning it, and I don't think Pep Guardiola can feel really that hard done by.
I think that's one of the key points, isn't it? The fact that there is a kind of significant disadvantage for Jurgen Klopp every single season. His rivals always spend a lot of big money, whereas Liverpool don't tend to be involved in that kind of spending. It's very measured and very thought out when Liverpool do spend money, and I think because of that, it does feel like he has somewhat of a disadvantage. But that kind of spending has helped him this season, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you only have to you only have to go back to the beginning of the season, and there was some pundits that didn't even have Liverpool in the top four. They were last August they were making their Premier League predictions, and some of them had them fourth. Some of them didn't even have Liverpool in the top four, and they thought maybe that Leicester would creep in or that Man United would finish second or third. Everyone had Chelsea to be City's main rivals for the Premier League title after signing Romelu Lukaku. And Liverpool only made one signing in Konate. So I mean, Klopp essentially, aside from Luis Diaz and bringing back Harvey Elliott, worked with what he had from last season, and yet Liverpool were going into the final day of the season in late May, capable of a potential quadruple. I mean, that's outstanding. And yeah, as you rightly pointed out, Liverpool are kind of they went into the season with one arm tied behind their back in terms of spending. City spent big, Chelsea spent big, Man United spent big, but Liverpool really didn't. And I think that's another reason why Jurgen Klopp has been given this award is the fact that he has pretty much worked with what he had from last season, and Liverpool have been successful. So yeah, I really don't think there's any argument to be made that he fully deserves the award.
I think there is something to be mentioned about the level of improvement some of these Liverpool players have gone through under Klopp, especially this season. Like heading into the campaign, I think people were kind of having doubts about squad depth after every single transfer window. When Liverpool only make one signing, there were these concerns, but those have been sort of absolutely obliterated throughout the campaign. You've seen the likes of Kostas Tsimikas have his best season. I think Takumi Minamino has had his best campaign. Divock Origi has once again stepped up after being written off last season, and all these players. I think Konate coming in, he's settled in really well. Same thing with Diaz. And I think because of these sort of improvements, Liverpool have looked much stronger under Klopp, and a lot of those improvements have to be credited to Klopp and the way he works with these players.
Yeah, and I mean, if you even look at Joel Matip, say, probably Joel Matip's had his best season probably for Liverpool, and at one point in the season, he was probably in better form than Virgil van Dijk, and especially with both of them, coming back after long absences through injury. Matip, you would arguably say was the better performer in the first half of the season. And then you've got obviously Naby Keita. I think it's been important too that Klopp has his man management has been really good in rotating players, the likes of Matip, Naby Keita, keeping them fresh, not playing them every game, knowing when to rest them, bringing Kanate, bringing in Curtis Jones, bringing even in Minamino for certain games. I think his man management has been really good. And Liverpool's squad isn't the biggest in terms of maybe you look at City's or Chelsea's, whatever, but the fact that he's managed to bring Liverpool to 3 finals, plus going to the final day, possibly winning the title, just shows he knows how to handle a squad of players. And as you say, he's improved them. The likes of Tsimikas has really kicked on from last season. And I think every Liverpool player has improved this season compared to last. And yeah, that's all down to Klopp and his team.
Do you think this is going to be his best season yet at Liverpool? I mean, obviously, there's a big if about winning the Champions League, but maybe even taking the Champions League aside for a moment, has this been his best season at the club? Because we've had some amazing campaigns, but it feels like, especially in 2022, Liverpool have been so dominant. It definitely feels like one of his best runs ever as Liverpool manager.
Yeah, I mean, the argument could be made that this is his finest season since arriving at Liverpool because when you take into the fact that A, Liverpool only signed one player last summer, B, the competition strengthened significantly last summer, and C, the doubters had Liverpool maybe not even finishing in the top 4, to bring them to 3 cup finals. Like a quadruple lasted, the potential for a quadruple lasted so long, and it's never been achieved before in English football where a certain team got to a certain month of the year of the season and it was still possible. Usually a team that tries to go for 4 trophies falls out of something at some point along the way, usually like February, March. But we get into late May and it was still possible for a quadruple. Like that's unparalleled in the English game. So you would, even no matter how Saturday turns out, you would look at it and say, yeah, this is arguably Jurgen Klopp's finest season. I mean, and Liverpool ended up again on 90 plus points and didn't win the league. Like if this was any other era we were talking about, Liverpool would be champions by far. They'd be champions, but they're up against the City side that make it harder and harder and harder every season to compete just because of their wealth and the backing that they have. So yeah, you definitely have a claim there that this is Jurgen Klopp's finest hour at Liverpool.
I think as well, people forget it now, but there was a lot of conversation around December, November time, and even at the beginning of the season about the African Cup of Nations, how Klopp will be without Sadio Mane, Naby Keita, and Mohamed Salah for a considerable period of time.
Remember those days.
Exactly, and they came through that with relative ease. I think Diaz coming in towards the end of January helped as well to ease the weight of expectations on the Liverpool players. But Klopp did remarkably well to come through those times, but bringing the best out of Oxlade-Chamberlain, for example, in that right wing position. And I think you have to give him credit where credit's due, and that was a significant achievement for him as well.
Yeah, and I mean, like we've written many pieces, prior to Christmas, about how Liverpool will cope without the African players going to the AFCON, and as you say, they go through it with no problems at all. And even if you think about it, really, in the second half of the season, Mohamed Salah has not been in great form, but it's kind of gone unnoticed because Liverpool are still winning games and other players are stepping up and contributing. And Luis Diaz has been unbelievable signing, and he's playing at Liverpool like he's been there for 3 or 4 years, and it's only been 4 or 5 months. So the way Klopp has handled everything and selected the right players at the right time for the right matches and improved the players that are there, it's just he has been unbelievable this season. And if Liverpool are going to win a treble, or and they could have won a quadruple, obviously it's down to the players, but it's all down to him and his team and how he's handled everybody everybody in the squad.
Yeah, let's keep our fingers crossed for a successful night in Paris on Saturday, and to round it up and to really sort of complete Jurgen Klopp's credentials as the manager of the year. A special mention also goes out to the LFC women's coach, Matt Beard, who was named the Women's Championship Manager of the Year as well at the LMA Awards last night. Huge congratulations to him and for gaining promotion the first time round and getting Liverpool's women team into the top tier of English football again. But that about rounds up our conversation, Emmett. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks, Emmett, for joining me. And make sure to check out the rest of the Blood Dead content going out today and all the written content on Liverpool.com. Thank you.